I joined the winery. I was 21, but initially my father didn't give me the chance to occupy some room in the winery. So I started working in the vineyards, and it was very educational for me. It was, I believe, it was quite useful till 27. When I was 28, I joined the winery finally, and starting this was in 1968. In 1970, 2 years later, I started working with a winemaker that is still Gaia winemaker. The name is Guido Rivella. He's a fantastic man. He was born in Barbaresco. He's responsible of the wines of Gaia, and we worked together for 37 years. Not so easy, you know, but we did very well, like a very good wedding. Sometimes having some conflict and after recuperating and doing very well. Excellent. So, and I am very lucky because I have my wife working with me. Her name is Lucia, and she's very active. She's used to work in the winery from Monday to Friday, and taking care of the family and so on with some people, of course. And then now Gaia, so I believe to be a lucky man. A very large number of so-called prestigious, important wines are reflecting character and personality. I heard many times saying that wine consultants are making wines with the same taste, and sometimes they are helping producers to become successful and so on. Quality is important. And sometimes wine consultants in some area, in some part of the world, can help producers to reach quicker some a level of quality. But great wine is something different. There is no one wine consultant that has been capable to produce by himself a great wine. This would be natural, you know. Why not thinking someone that is able to make successful wines for many different producers? Why not having the ego of producing for himself? It's not so easy. The great wine needs many elements, needs time, needs application, needs many aspects. And at the end, the great wine will be more successful when it's able to reflect personality and character. I belong to the category of producers that would like not to retire quickly. So if I will be lucky having a good health, I would like to give my contribution still to the winery. But in the same time, I have to open and to leave room to my daughter. It's not so difficult because she's very smart. I am very proud and happy of her, and we can work together. Of course, we are not to do the same job, if not maybe, but the same exactly. But there is a lot of room in the winery, and there is much more room for her, and then maybe I can even spend traveling a little bit less. Of some big poet, great poets, sorry, writing about love, and probably you never were able to tell or to write this or to find in yourself these words. Maybe that you feel, and the reading you have the impression, but it's quite difficult. So for me, that I am not a wine writer, to describe wine is not easy. You have to consider my education. And because my education, I was educated to Nebbiolo, that can seem a little bit aggressive. I like this character. And I personally, despite I have great respect, but I don't like the marmalade wines, the big, supple, rich wines. I need something a little bit more aggressive. And I like these wines, and I like the matching food and wine. And I like the acidity. The acidity for me is a sign, I consider, maybe it's a mistake, a sign of elegance, because the acidity makes us slim the wine and fresh the wine, and I like to have the invitation of drinking again to the table, despite I don't drink a bottle of wine, or even I'm not used to drinking even half a bottle, but every day, lunch and dinner, I am used to drinking a glass and a half or 2 glasses of wine. This was the education of my father. Of course, not alone. at least I have to share the wine with my wife. But a great bottle, I needed to have some friends. Always, this area is one of the areas that is more respectful of the concept of tradition. And the concept of tradition is not modified because they use a barriques or other fermenter and so on. In my opinion, the concept of being respectful of tradition is in making, everybody make wine with one only grape variety, that is a Nebbiolo. They accepted during the time to reduce the number of the yield in the vineyard, that in the past probably was higher than now. And that now they understand that it is important to regulate the quantity and to have a relatively low yield. That is quite important. Even the producers that are producing and they're making wine in a big cask, they changed the cask. They renovated. They bought a new one because the old one was just good for fire, you know. And they made very good fire. They renovated. It was quite important. Some other used barriques, but it's not that a difference in my opinion. So of course there is some little change in the style of wine, but is not very important because you can, if you have the chance of tasting some Barolo, old Barolo, for example 90 vintage or 95 vintage or 96 vintage already. I'm not talking for new vintages. That probably the difference is using, for example, barriques or old cask or having a very short fermentation or longer fermentation in a young wine. You can have a perception. You can understand a little bit more clearly. But after 9, 10, 15 years in bottles and so on, the Nebbiolo is emerging and taking his personality and discovering all the differences that you could see. I am born in Piedmont. Piedmont is a region in northwest of Italy, beside France, below Switzerland. His vineyards there were planted by Romans in the 1st century. By the time a grape variety was selected there called Nebbiolo, and the Nebbiolo has been planted in Piedmont for almost 800 years. My family, my great-grandfather that founded the winery in 1859, he started producing a wine called Barbaresco. Barbaresco is a wine made 100% Nebbiolo grapes. The same in southwest of Piedmont, the name is Alba. There is the area of Barolo, and Barolo is made 100% Nebbiolo grapes. What makes a difference is due to terroir. Barbaresco and Barolo made by Nebbiolo grapes are wines that show elegance. Elegance is the opposite of opulence. And today the consumers are liking a lot opulence, rich wines. And I have nothing against the opulent, rich wines. But their most important character is that they match very well food, because they have a relatively high level of acidity that make the wine slim, and some tannins that clean the mouth and give you the chance of retasting. And the wines are fresh.
What else do tasting wine support?
For my father, that was a great artisan, craftsman there for producing wine. The concept of looking and having the chance of buying the best terroir, the best cru was crucial. He did it for me, for the next generation. I learned from my father. My father learned from his father, my grandfather. And my grandfather learned from the great-grandfather. My idea and the idea of my father and my grandfather was to maintain the size appropriate to our goal. So I tried to teach my daughters that now are in the winery to maintain this attitude in being artisan, in not having the temptation to become bigger and bigger, and trying to do what we can do well. And there is a room for our wines in the market, everywhere. We produce wines like in Burgundy, like in Bordeaux, like in other areas of the New World that are cellaring and that will reach the peak in terms of quality after some time. In the world, there are even areas that are able producing wines that are immediately drinkable. It's perfect. But there are few other areas, and the Piedmont is one of these. The wines are wines to be kept in the cellar. The right time is the time that has to be decided by consumer.
Tell me, what do you think of the show Pro Wine as such to start with?
It's only the third time I come to Provine. We don't have a long history with this fair.
Okay.
But it's becoming one of my favorite fairs.
Okay.
I'll tell you that it's a very civilized way of working.
Okay.
There are a lot of people, and actually this is a fair that has always been more for Europe. A lot of people coming from North Europe, East Europe, but this year is quite different.
This is your first time?
No, this is my third time.
Okay.
But it's the first time that I see more international people coming.
Oh, really? Okay.
So a couple of people from India came.
Okay.
People from, for example, Mexico, Canada, China. So it's becoming a more important fair.
Okay. So tell me one thing. You used to be in Vinitaly a lot earlier, and but I don't see you guys there anymore. What's the reason?
No, we are in Vinitaly. We always have our little booth. We don't pour wine.
Yeah.
So it has becoming a little bit overwhelming. Too many people, but we are always there. So if you want to stop by, we are there in Italy.
Okay.
We are in a corridor.
Oh yeah, the distribuzione,
6
yeah.
and 7.
So
yes.
what are you doing in that, in terms of distribution, apart from Riedel? I know Riedel you do, of course, but
yes.
What else are you doing there?
I am meeting my friends, my clients.
Okay, like that. Okay.
Yes, but we don't pour wine.
What in terms of Vinitaly and Pro Wine, which do you think is a better show?
They
for
are
the
different.
exhibitor?
They are different.
Okay.
Here you can really be happy because you can work, you can easily get to the fair with a train, you can taste wines in a very quite calm and welcoming environment.
Okay. The Italian thing is not there.
In Italy,
Boom, boom, boom.
I know that it's a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah.
So maybe you can be disappointed by that, but anyway I find always a lot of soul and a lot of heart.
Oh yes, of course.
So there are
You
two
can never
different
imagine.
things.
Yeah,
Here is the business,
Okay.
and in Italy also business, but I don't know, there is a different joy for me to be in Verona.
So tell me, what is happening now with Gaia in terms of the international markets after recession, the 2008 meltdown? What is your experience here?
It's, in Italy, it's just, I think, the 0.8% of the population of the world. So Italy, it's an important market for me, but it's very important to also to take care of the wine lovers that there are in the world, which is a vast world.
Okay.
And 80% of what we sell is exported. India, it's a market where I must come back.
Yes, you should. You've been missed. Yeah, you've been missed. Yeah. So what do you think of the Indian market? What has been your experience more than 10 years now in India?
I learned from you, and you told me that there is an amazing potential in India because of the young new generation that is craving for learning more about wine and that drinks wine, which is a beverage that is accepted socially, and it's going to be a great market. I think that the taxation in all the different states still is creating some complication for the importation of wine. It's 4 years that I don't come to India, but I must tell you that are many the Indian people that I meet around the world that are involved with wine. For example, if I go to Dubai, many of the sommeliers are from India. They are young and they are learning a lot. Even if I travel to US, 2 of the greatest sommeliers in the US are Indian.
Oh yeah, Rajat
Par from Michael Mina, but also Raj is the name of the sommelier from Daniel Boulou, Daniele,
okay.
to establish
Oh,
a
wow,
restaurant
that's
in New
wonderful,
York.
wonderful.
So I have to come back to your country.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I know this year no, but 2016 I will.
Wonderful.